Hello. I'm really worried, but I've decided to tell this story. I don't know how long I will survive my husband's betrayal 5 years ago. I know that a bullet with my name is flying, but I don't know when, where, and how. I need to put this on paper before this happens, so the whole world knows the price I have to pay for deceiving. Let me start from the beginning. It started that year when my boys had summer break from school, and I, as we always do, sent them to a very nice summer camp. Ron was 17 at the time, and Jerry was 16. My husband Robert was on a military mission in some country in South America. He was a major, leading the A team of the Green Berets, and had been gone for 2 weeks. I just dealt with two of my secret lovers from the local fraternity and sent them home. Another one will be here the next day, and the day after that. Well, you get the idea. Every weekday I was served by a young stallion, except Monday, when the two brothers got together. It all started 3 years ago when I was invited to a student party with one of the football players who had been following me for a month. There were rumors that I loved young men with big dicks, and boys pestered me all night. I know I drank a lot of beer that night and was taken to the bedroom. I took charge of whoever wanted a piece and happily gave it to them. By morning, I was one well-fed woman. I don't know how many loads I put into all three holes, but it flowed like through a sieve. At that time, my husband was gone for another month. I agreed with several guys that they would visit me while the boys were at school. This started a series of cases that continued for 3 years. My children and husband never found out about this because I tried not to leave any evidence. Like I said, my two brothers had just left me, and I was heading to the shower when the doorbell rang. I responded by wearing a robe and nothing else underneath. Standing there were two captains I had never seen before, but they had the silver wings of a green beret on their chests. Mrs. Robert Johnson? Yes, it's me! I'm Captain Mitchell, and this is Captain Rogers. It is with deep regret that I report that Major Robert Johnson died this morning in a plane crash in South America. We don't have all the details and don't know if his body can be found. At that time, the plane crashed in hostile territory and the entire crew was killed. That was the last thing I remembered until I woke up later on the couch with my sister-in-law Julie wiping her face with a cold, damp hand towel. The two captains picked me up from the floor and called her using the emergency call card they had. They left when she arrived, and my brother was driving there from work. She picked me up, gave me a glass of water, and took me to the shower. Look, Robin, I don't want to know anything about what you did. But judging by the amount of cum dripping down your legs and the puddle on the floor where you fell, I'd say it was no use. The puddle has risen, and now you better wash away the rest before my husband, your brother, comes and sees this. If you weren't my daughter-in-law, I would call you a fucking slut and a slut right now and walk away from you. Now you have about 45 minutes before Al arrives to clean up and dress like a decent woman should. I'll be in the living room after I pour a cup of coffee. Now move over, bitch. I collected my thoughts, took a shower, and quickly got dressed. My husband was killed when I cheated on him, and now my brother's wife knew about it, and quite possibly those two captains too. What was I going to tell the boys? Will Julie tell me? My stomach churned and I vomited into the bathroom sink. If anyone saw these contents, there would be no doubt that I had been swallowing all morning. I rinsed it all down the drain, brushed my teeth, and rinsed everything off. I looked in the mirror and saw that my eyes were red and swollen from the tears I had cried. Every time I thought about what I did while my husband died, I cried harder. Finally, Julie arrived, and by the way my shoulders were heaving, you could tell I was sobbing. She helped me back onto the bed, sat me down, and dabbed my eyes with a tissue from the box on the bedside table. Robin, we will help you through this, and we will also help the boys. When this is done, you and I will sit down, girl to girl, have a heart-to-heart talk, and you will have to answer some very pressing questions. No lies or deceit will be accepted from you. I won't tell anyone what I saw today either. Thank you, Julie. I feel so bad right now. Why did this have to happen now? He only had 3 years left to retire and then be with me forever. Maybe you are being punished by a higher power. Al is here, and he wants to make sure you're okay before he goes to camp to get the boys. Don't worry. Tell them about it. He will tell them about it gently. And be close to them, and then bring them home. Julie and I walked out into the living room, and Al held me for a few minutes, rubbing my back. He said he would be back with the boys in the morning. The round trip to camp took 12 hours, so keep an eye on them in about 14 hours. As he was leaving, two women appeared and said they were from the base officers' wives club and had come to see if I needed anything. They told me that the military would handle all the funeral arrangements and take care of everything. The base chaplain will come tomorrow afternoon to talk to me and the boys. All I could do was nod at them. I cried so much that I couldn't even speak. They sat with me while Julie changed the sheets and blankets on my bed and put them in the washing machine. As the news spread like wildfire, Friends stopped by to express their condolences and made sure Julie had their phone numbers in case I needed anything. The base security colonel came in to collect any records Robert might have, but since he didn't bring anything home, there was nothing to collect. He expressed his deepest sympathy and left. After everyone had gone to bed, Julie gave me sleeping pills, put me to bed, and slept on the couch. At night, I slept fitfully. Even pills did not relieve me of nightmares. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I had been hit by a runaway truck. By the end of the day, I wished I had been there. Julie must have heard me stirring and brought me a cup of coffee to help me wake up. She gave me another pill and said it was a low-grade sedative that would help me get through the day. Her doctor prescribed them for me, and she ran to get them this morning. She told me that Richard Martin called and expressed his sympathy. I gasped, remembering that he was the president of the fraternity and was supposed to come today. Julie said she heard about the death on the news this morning and canceled all my appointments until further notice. He was one of my first lovers 3 years ago and was still one of my weekly partners. In any case, this was supposed to be his senior year, since he had graduated and was soon going to law school. I'll have to call him later when I'm alone and thank him for everything. Julie made me eat breakfast and then a light lunch as visitors came and went throughout the day. Al came with my boys. They looked like they had been crying for hours too. They ran and hugged me and we cried together in our arms. Al brought their equipment and told them to put it in their rooms. Once again, the officers' club wives came with food already prepared for my guests and family to eat and enjoy. One elderly woman told me that she was Jerry Stockman, and I realized that she was the wife of the commanding general. She handed me a list of names, addresses, and phone numbers and said they were the wives of the team that was with my husband. Julie took the list from me and worked with a local florist to put together flower arrangements to deliver to the wives in my name and a credit card with a note that I would call them when I could. For the rest of the day, the boys and I stood bravely in front of all our visitors. The chaplain came and said that a mass memorial service was planned for Thursday afternoon for all the families. Customized services could also be scheduled anytime we wanted. Since the bodies could not be found, and it was doubtful that they would ever be found, only memorials were planned. Al and Julie were the only family we had left, so we didn't need a large private memorial service. Each wife received a tri-folded flag before 21 salutes and taps. The salute was made up of all the Green Berets, and they were all friends of my husband. Everyone was also a volunteer. Finally, the visitors stopped. Julie gave me another sleeping pill and sent me to bed. The nightmares kept coming back all night. Wednesday was almost a repeat of Tuesday. By Thursday, I was already nervous. I was still taking anti-anxiety medications and now antidepressants. We went to the memorial service and it was wonderful. Julie took me to other widows so I could tell them how sorry I was for their loss and hear them tell me mine. After taps ended, we all gathered to hug and cry, each carrying our own flag. We were all Green Beret wives, except for the 2 pilots of the plane. But we welcomed them into our group hugs as if they were. General Stockman approached the group and said that tomorrow morning, a heavily armed team would be allowed in by helicopter to recover the bodies. The country's government approved a humanitarian search and recovery operation. A team of 25 people was already in the air. After that, we went home. That afternoon and evening, each widow held an open house for friends and family. Julie was getting ready for mine on Friday. Al took me to each home so I could pay my respects to the men who served under Robert. I had the last of my strength when we left the last house, and Al took me home. I thanked my brother for his help and cried on his big shoulders as he held me tightly. Julie gave me another sleeping pill, and I slept very well that night. No nightmares to haunt me. Friday morning arrived, and I woke up feeling better than I have since I received the news. Julie gave me antidepressants and another anti-anxiety medication right before the open house. One by one, other widows came and paid their respects as I did, and a couple stayed there for quite a while, but most left soon after. That was the last time I saw most of them, as they dispersed to go to where their families were. Such is the life of a military family. By Friday evening, I was mentally and physically exhausted, and another sleeping pill knocked me out. Saturday morning arrived, and after we all had breakfast, the boys asked if I could take them to the shooting range today. They went there every Saturday when Robert was at home training. Robert taught them well. Al said he would take us, and off we went. The boys first approached the stationary targets and made professional shots, and then moved on to the moving targets. I heard them mutter something before each shot, and I leaned closer to hear what they were saying. Both boys leaned toward their rifles and said, "Wait!" Then, when everything was lined up, they opened fire. I was surprised when I saw the targets. Almost every shot was a fatal headshot. The range director told me that these two were the best non-military marksmen he had seen in a long time, and even then, they were better than most military marksmen. Robert taught them well. On Monday afternoon, General Stockman came to my house and said that the rescue team had not been able to find a single body. The plane literally exploded into a fireball midair, and the fire consumed everything inside the plane. All that was left was completed by animals and insects. The only remains they found were the half-melted dog tags of all 11 men. Once again, I felt his sincere sympathy. Julie put me back into a deep sleep. Summer came and went. The boys returned to school. Ron became the eldest, and Jerry became the youngest. Their classmates gave them a warm welcome. The school also expressed their sympathy, and life went on. Then came the first disaster: college football. I was watching it on TV with the boys when the local college was playing a faraway college, and my first crush was on the field. He dribbled the ball toward the goalpost and scored the game-winning touchdown. He crossed the line, and when he raised his hands in victory, his head exploded on national television. The three of us sat there, completely stunned, when the channel very quickly went to commercial. It was all over the news for days. A sniper on the roof of the school building fired the shot that killed my former lover. After that, it was the talk of the town for several weeks. No one had any idea who the shooter was or why he was chosen as the victim. The police were at a dead end. On the night of the shooting, Richard Martin called me from his new campus. He told me that the new president of the fraternity called him and said that Richard's diaries had been stolen from the archives. He told me that the diary never mentioned my name, but each of my lovers had dates and times listed. The dead player's name was first on the list. I almost passed out when he told me it was being recorded, and I felt dizzy when he told me the last part. 3 days later, national news reported the death of Richard Martin in a sniper shooting on his campus. He was studying in his dorm room when a gunshot shattered the window and then his head. The shot came from a tree more than half a mile away. No evidence of a sniper was found. This time the police visited me because my name and phone number were in his directory. They showed me a photo of the letter he received the day before, and all it said was, "Wait." When I came to my senses, they asked what it meant. I told them that was exactly what the moving target shooters were saying as they waited for their target to line up with their crosshairs. My husband taught this to my sons, and they said it when they shot at the range. LT Police told me that the same letter had been found in the football player's room. I went down again. Now the police are interested in me and my connection with the victims. I didn't tell them that they were both my lovers. I just knew them both from all over town, and that seemed to calm them down for the moment. Over the next 2 years, all my ex-lovers died one by one at the hands of a sniper. The two brothers were the last to leave. The police came to me every time, and the day before they all received the same message. Wait. At some point, it turned out that all the victims regularly slept with me when my husband was out of town and the children were at school. Somehow, word got around and people in town started to distance themselves from me. Even my boys left home and didn't talk to me anymore. Julie came to check on me from time to time, but she didn't stay long. Both boys joined the military after high school, went to sniper training, and applied to Special Forces school. I wasn't invited to graduation and was told not to come. I had to remove graffiti from my garage door because someone had spray painted slut, slut, and bitch on it multiple times. People in the city looked at me with disgust. Men kept asking me out when their wives weren't around. I haven't had a lover since the day my husband died, and I never will again. I ended up having to move a couple of hours away where no one knew me and only the boys and my brother and his wife knew where I lived now. I attempted suicide twice, saw a therapist, took daily antidepressants, and attended sex addiction group meetings. I was losing weight and looked very old for a woman who was only 40. I looked 60. I didn't care anymore. I wanted to die. Al and Julie visited me weekly and tried to get me out of whatever state I was in. Without my boys, I no longer had the desire to live. I was responsible for the death of 10 young people, and it ate at my very soul. Now, on the anniversary of Robert's death, I am looking through a letter I received in the mail today. Those 3 memorable words are wait. I look forward to it and welcome it when it comes. My will has been written, and my solicitor's office has paid my funeral expenses. I called Al and Julie when I received the letter, said goodbye to them, and asked them to ask my son for forgiveness. Please, and asked them too. They both gave me theirs, and I hung up. I'm sitting in front of a large window and typing this on my laptop. The curtains are open to daylight, and I look out the window. I take a headshot, which will be easy. As I sit here looking down the street, wondering where the shot will come from, a military police car pulls up to my front door with its red and blue lights flashing. I watch the 2 officers come out, and the first thing I see is the glint of silver wings on their chests. For some reason, they seemed familiar to me, and when they came to the door and entered without knocking, I saw that they were my 2 sons. The military police car left and left after the driver put the bags in the entrance. Both boys came up to me, hugged and kissed me. I heard 3 shots in the afternoon air and both boys looked at me and Ron told me it was over. The sniper was dead. They told me that they had forgiven me and the Green Berets would take care of themselves. I don't know who the sniper was and no one will ever tell me whether it was Robert or not. My boys are back and that's all that matters now, boys.